औज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। ख़वातीन व हज़रात, इस्तांबुल में मौजूद एक बड़ा तहकीकी अदारा है, सेंटर फॉर इस्लाम एंड ग्लोबल अफेयर्स। उसके प्रोफेसर समी अल-आरियन से कल गुफ्तगू हो रही थी और साथ मुशाहिद हुसैन सैयद साहब भी मौजूद थे। उस गुफ्तगू को आज ज़रा जारी रखते हैं। प्रोफेसर, यू सेड दैट a new world order is probably emerging. So the old one was a liberal democracy slash capitalism versus communism or socialism, and what will be the new world order then?
Well,
what shape will it
the
take?
world order that we have been living under for the past at least 50 plus years, since at least World War II, let's say, was dominated by the liberal order, which was managed and designed by the United States. There was, during the Cold War, certainly two camps. On the one hand, the Western camp, the capitalist camp, and the communist or the socialist camp. That has gone with the collapse of the Soviet Union.
You call it capitalist camp, not liberal democracy.
Well, I mean, liberal democracy is a term, is a political term, but it's basically to serve the capitalist world. Because liberal democracy, they use it whenever it is convenient. But the actual interest here is to preserve American hegemony, American supremacy, as well as the capitalists of the world, the multinational corporations of the world. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, we had a unipolar moment in which the United States was trying to impose not only its philosophy and its capitalist model, but also trying to change the different systems that may in the future become opposed to the American hegemony. So that's the color revolutions. They're trying to actually collapse Russia at one point until Putin became president, and they have reassertive Russia. They try to change the Chinese by giving them the space in which they can grow and develop, and hoping, this is a gamble that they lost, that this will change their political system. And they found out that Chinese can actually grow and develop and keep their authoritarian system. And that's why they started this rivalry now, and they're trying to contain China. So all the gambles that the United States used during its unipolar moment have failed, including the Middle East. It started to have social engineering, all these wars, and that also failed miserably. So now the United States is trying to concentrate and prevent it arising China, in which it can impact it and force it to change the world order. Now, we are not there yet, but it's a possibility.
Are we going to see a techno-capitalism?
We already have it.
Technology. Techno doesn't mean technocrats, but yes, techno-capitalism.
We already have it. For the 7 most important companies in the world are all technical based. Google, Meta, Tesla, Amazon, all of them are technical. So they have taken over the manufacturing or the other kind of industries. So that has already been taken care of. But when we talk about what would be the future of the world order, certainly this type of technology, including AI and things emerging from that, they will be the most important part of a changing technology. And with that, you have a real rivalry taking place today between the United States on one hand and China on the other. And whoever wins that competition will certainly have the upper hand in designing the next world order.
So this word techno-capitalism, is this the right term, you think?
I mean, it's a correct term in principle. How people use it, it's basically used, in technology firms, technology corporations, technology capitalism. I think all would serve the purpose.
But China is also capitalist. China
is ruled by the Communist Party of China, which is the world's largest political party, 100 million strong. And I think ये जो नया साल आया है, इसमें चाइना ने 2 बहुत बड़ी बातें की हैं.
Year of the snake.
The year of the snake is also called the little dragon. It looks like a dragon. तो उसमें उन्होंने कहा, and dragon means little dragon is resilience and sharpness and wisdom also. और उसके जो काशी करती है. Xi Jinping was, by the way, born in this year.
Also Mao Zedong. Chairman Mao.
Chairman Mao. So उस हवाले से 2 चीज़ें बड़ी हुई हैं. एक, चाइना ने एंटर किया है 2025 with the largest trade surplus in history, $1 trillion. So इकोनॉमी उनकी मजबूत है. दूसरा जो है, जो उन्होंने सरप्राइज दिया है, न्यू ईयर, हैप्पी न्यू ईयर गिफ्ट टू अमेरिका, डीप सीक
और अलीबाबा
उन्होंने कहा है कि जी आप उन्होंने अनाउंस किया, ट्रंप ने, स्टारगेट, $500 billion. ये जो टेक्नो की आप बात कर रहे थे, all that our tech titans were all there at the inauguration सारे. और बड़ा पैसा लगाएंगे, बिलियंस। उन्होंने कहा कि वही काम आपसे बेहतर करेंगे और आपसे एट द फ्रैक्शन ऑफ द कॉस्ट करेंगे। अब आ जाएं बात करें, ये है। और डिस्पाइट द सैंक्शंस, डिस्पाइट द टैरिफ्स, ओपन सोर्स जो मर्जी ले, आपके मोबाइल में है, मेरे मोबाइल पे है, सारा कुछ है। और क्या स्पीड है, मैंने ट्राई किया डीप सीक वगैरह का, बात ही नो कंपैरिजन।
नहीं, मुझे आप ये बताएं कि क्या ये कंपटीशन है बिटवीन अमेरिका एंड चाइना? इज इट अ कंपटीशन और अ कोल्ड वॉर, और एज प्रोफेसर मेंशन्ड दैट ताइवान इज अ रेड लाइन, सो इफ Putin can win Ukraine, why can't China win Taiwan in case?
मेरा अपना व्यू है कि Taiwan is no longer a red line for Trump at least.
Okay.
इस वक्त देखिए अमेरिकन हेजेमनी की क्या बुनियाद थी? तीन थी। फौजी, मिलिट्री हेजेमनी, दूसरी थी डॉलर, इकोनॉमिक हेजेमनी, तीसरा था हाईटेक टेक्नोलॉजी। अब ये देख लें कि मिलिट्री हेजेमनी उनकी कायम है, लेकिन जहां उनकी मिलिट्री इन्वॉल्व हुई है एशिया में, अमेरिका ने कभी लैंड वॉर एशिया में नहीं जीती। कोरिया, वियतनाम, कैम्बोडिया, लाओस, अफगानिस्तान, इराक, सीरिया, हर जगह वो हार रहे हैं लैंड वॉर। तो मिलिट्री हेजेमनी है, दे आर द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट मिलिट्री पावर, लेकिन उसका रिजल्ट क्या है कि आप जंगें नहीं जीत सकते। और अभी स्टडी हुई है हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी की, 5 सिनारियोज आए हैं वॉर गेम के। हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी, प्रोफेसर ग्रैहम एलिसन,
5 में वो हारे हैं
और वो है ऑन ताइवान। अगर जंग होती है अमेरिका की और 5 दफा वो हारे हैं, नंबर 1। दूसरी बात ये देखें कि ये जो आपने हाईटेक की बात है, हार्वर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी की स्टडी आई थी, द ग्रेट टेक राइवलरी चाइना वर्सेस द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स। उन्होंने कहा है कि चाइना इज ओवरटेकिंग द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स इन हाईटेक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, 5G, रोबोटिक्स, क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, STEM, STEM, साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी, इंजीनियरिंग, मैथमेटिक्स। और आपने देखा होगा इकोनॉमिस्ट ने कवर स्टोरी की थी, चाइना द साइंटिफिक सुपर पावर। द ओल्ड साइंस ऑर्डर डोमिनेटेड बाय US, जापान, यूरोप हैज ऑलरेडी कम टू एन एंड। तो ये एक, जहां तक डॉलर का ताल्लुक है, 193 ममालिक हैं, 193 स्टेट्स ऑफ द UN। 130 कंट्रीज हैव मोर ट्रेड विद चाइना देन दे हैव द US। और उसमें से 193 में से 68 कंट्रीज हैव अनाउंस्ड कि हम विलिंगली ट्रेड करेंगे, नॉट इन US डॉलर्स बट रूबल, रुपीज, RMB, रैंड, जो और दूसरी करेंसीज है। तो ऑलरेडी एक न्यू वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर की मेरे ख्याल में बुनियाद रख दी गई है। तो अमेरिकन लेड सो कॉल्ड लिबरल इंटरनेशनल ऑर्डर इज ऑलरेडी फॉलिंग, कमिंग अपार्ट। और उसमें ये मिडल ईस्ट में जो हुआ है ना, ये तूफान अल-अक्सा, वो एक्सपर्टाइट हो गया कि अमेरिकन ने कहा था कि इजराइल विल डिसाइड। आप देखें ना, बिफोर तूफान अल-अक्सा क्या था, जेक सलीमन ने अनाउंस किया तूफान अल-अक्सा से पहले, 7 अक्टूबर 2023 से पहले, कि मिडल ईस्ट हैज नेवर बीन सो पीसफुल एंड काम। और ये नेतन्याहू ने अनाउंस किया यूनाइटेड नेशन में, द न्यू मिडल ईस्ट माइनस पैलेस्टाइन।
मुझे
वो तो सारा फेल हो गया।
प्रोफेसर, व्हाट इज ब्रिक्स इन योर ओपिनियन? एंड once the BRICS says we are not going to have our own currency, there is no plan for de-dollarization, as the Kremlin just announced, then what's the purpose of BRICS? Because the countries they've already trading between each other. So,
well, BRICS,
and will Turkey join BRICS? Will other countries join BRICS after all these threats from President Trump, tariff threats?
Turkey is a very important country in NATO, and most of its trade is with the West rather than with the East. And I think Turkey is trying to position itself where it can see where it would fit better in terms of its economic situation. Most of the loans that Turkey is owed, about $520 billion, mostly to private corporations, are to Western banks. So it's treading very carefully to see if it can extract more favorable terms from the West before it joins BRICS. Certainly, it has shown that it wants to be a part of BRICS, but I think they are hedging their bets to see what Trump or the West in general would give them. But I think over the long term, the future of Turkey with BRICS is going to be much better than it is with the West, because in the West, it'd probably be the least country, but within the the BRICS countries, it will have a much prominent position, I believe, and that it can also break from this grip of being a Western, in a Muslim country in a Western alliance where you have all kinds of odd policies. But more importantly, for BRICS, it is to be able to design a financial institution in which they can know how to trade with each other without having to go through these Western institutions where they use sanctions in order to punish countries. Almost, many countries have been under sanction, whether it's China, whether it's Brazil, whether it is Russia, whether it is whatever countries exist, Iran for sure. And that makes it very difficult for countries to have stable economies and stable political systems. And that's the American posture is always to punish countries if they don't toe the American line. But within BRICS, these kind of things, these kind of pressures, they don't face. But BRICS so far has not been able to design this financial system that it can have a smooth relations between these countries.
What are the options for Indian Prime Minister Modi? I mean, Trump is saying you have to buy more weapons. There are going to be sanctions against you. And what are the options? Will Indian Prime Minister Modi continue to buy oil and weapons from Russia now? Or he will be saying, okay, fine, we are in the US camp in the region?
India actually has lots of leverage with the Americans. And that's why the Americans let it get away with things that it does not allow other countries to get away with. It's still, India buys its oil and its energy supplies from Russia because it has much better deals than things. And with that, it's allying itself with America against China. So America cannot afford to antagonize India for the simple fact that it needs India in its rivalry with China. And therefore, India uses that leverage in order to get away with other relationships within BRICS, with Russia, and with other regional countries. So from that point of view, from the strategic geopolitical point of view, India is playing its cards pretty well. And also they have very strong lobby within Washington, within the United States, and that lets it also get things that other countries cannot get away with.
Mushahid sir?
Basically, दो चीज़ें हैं. एक तो है कि इंडिया और इजराइल का एक अलायंस है. इजराइल इन द मिडल ईस्ट, इंडिया इन साउथ एशिया. और दोनों जो है इजराइल इंडिया के इसको रूलिंग रिजीम्स जो हैं मोदी और नेतन्याहू, वो आइडियोलॉजिकल फर्स्ट कजन्स हैं. वो ज़ायनिस्ट है, ये हिंदुत्व है, और एंटी इस्लाम मुस्लिम बैशिंग उसमें वो एक कॉमन एलिमेंट है, और एक्सट्रीमिस्ट हैं. और जो पॉलिसी वो नेतन्याहू ला रहा है फ़लस्तीनियों के ख़िलाफ़, वही पॉलिसी मोदी लगा रहा है कश्मीरी हुर्रियत पसंदों के ख़िलाफ़. तो उनकी काफ़ी कॉमनैलिटी. दूसरा जो कोर इशू है अमेरिकन फॉरेन पॉलिसी का, वो है हाउ टू हैंडल चाइना, द चाइना चैलेंज कह लें. उसमें इंडिया इज़ देयर मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्टनर एंड एलाई.
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
वो बॉटम लाइन है. नॉट जापान, नॉट साउथ कोरिया, नॉट फिलीपींस, दे डोंट मैटर इन द लार्जर पिक्चर. इंडिया क्योंकि एशिया का है ना इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइज एंड और सी सारी चीज़ें. सो इसलिए इंडिया का जो ये बिल्कुल आई एग्री विद प्रोफेसर समी दैट वो इंडिया जो जिस तरह अमेरिकन को ब्लैकमेल करता है, इंडिया अमेरिका को इस्तेमाल करता है, वो किसी और. दे बाय ऑयल फ्रॉम ईरान, कोई सैंक्शंस नहीं. दे बाय ऑयल फ्रॉम रशिया, नो सैंक्शंस. उनकी जो न्यूक्लियर प्रोग्राम पर भी कोई थ्रेट, कोई सैंक्शंस नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है. और कोई हो तो इस्लामिक बॉम्ब सारा से.
No, the leverage against China. What will Trump ask Indian Prime Minister Modi to do? Buy weapons?
India would not have a problem buying weapons. They just have to change their defense posture. That they have to change from Russia.
Buy weapons against whom?
Against whom? Certainly its foes in the region, China and Pakistan.
China and Pakistan, okay.
Yes.
So
actually used against Pakistan.
Yes,
yeah,
but
China बहाना है, पाकिस्तान निशाना है.
No.
याद रखें.
No.
For more, Indian foreign policy is very clear. China उनका बहाना है. असल निशाना पाकिस्तान है.
Okay. Now
they dare not fight the Chinese. Yes. Chinese तो will thrash the hell out of them.
That's correct.
What do you think?
You think you have two nuclear
there is
powers.
already conflict actually between China and India. You think it's a frozen conflict or whatever you call it,
It's not going to get into a hot conflict because it could get out of hand, and then you have two nuclear armed neighbors, whether it's even India, Pakistan, or India and China. Both of them are very difficult. But also, if Pakistan gets closer to China, then that's how you balance. The question obviously is Pakistan to make and China to make. China does not want to be involved right now in any hot conflict. It is on its rise to become hegemon without having to be in wars. I think the United States will try to contain China and even force it to have any kind of a conflict, limited conflict, in order to diminish its status and makes it more busy with that. I think they will fail. Chinese look at this as basically being there to win, but over the long term. They think on 50-year plans. They don't think in 5-year plans. Right now, they want to build a blue water navy. They already have 2 aircraft carriers. They're trying to make that into 5. They're trying to build an air force that would be very strong and very, very important in any future conflict. And they will have to also build space type weapons, all that to match the United States. Otherwise, the United States today has much more superior arms if it comes to that kind of warfare. But I think none of them would like to escalate it, because if that happens, the whole world economy will crash down. And I think particularly somebody like Trump, I don't think he will be interested in armed conflict. So in terms of Taiwan, I don't think he will try to provoke China, and I don't think China will go, because also China has weak points, which is its economy, even though it's very strong. But if the United States puts more sanctions on it or stops any kind of trade, there will be a lot of chaos in China, because that's what is fueling its economy. This whole trade deficit with Western countries.
मुशाहिद साहब, ये बताइएगा कि नंबर 1, आप ये कह रहे हैं कि इंडिया और चाइना का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आपको नजर नहीं आ रहा, यानी दोनों मुल्क जो हैं वो ऐसे ही कोल्ड पीस। अच्छा, छोटे छोटे प्रोजेक्ट खत्म हो जाएंगे, लाइक दलाई लामा से ये प्रोजेक्ट इधर उधर, ये ट्रम्प खत्म कर देगा? व्हाट डू यू थिंक? नहीं, इंडिया कंटिन्यू करेगा।
इंडिया की कैपेसिटी गन करने की बहुत ज्यादा है। वो इस खत्ते में ये गन भी करेगा और उनसे मुज़ाकरात भी करेगा। ये देखें ना, ये जॉइंट प्रोजेक्ट है दलाई लामा वाला, अमेरिकन्स एंड द इंडियंस, टू कीप प्रेशर ऑन चाइना। और वो करना, जैसे शिनजियांग पर भी उन्होंने कार्ड खेल रहे हैं। और लेकिन इंडिया ने हैज़ लॉस्ट बिग टाइम इन साउथ एशिया। इंडिया आइसोलेटेड है। बांग्लादेश में स्टूडेंट रेवोल्यूशन, श्रीलंका में एक लेफ्टिस्ट गवर्नमेंट, नेपाल में माओइस्ट गवर्नमेंट, मालदीव्स में गवर्नमेंट, इंडिया आउट ऑफ मालदीव्स। तो ये सारा जो है इस खत्ते का, ये जियोपॉलिटिक्स हैज चेंज्ड।
कुछ ऐसा भी वक्फा,
हाँ,
वक्फे के
पीसफुली वो चाइना हैंडल कर
वक्फे
देगा।
के बाद पूछेंगे पाकिस्तान कहाँ एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है इस पूरे सिनेरियो में। एक वक्फा ख़वातीन हज़रात, वक्फे का दोबारा जरूर। Welcome back, Khawateen Huzrat. Professor Sami, then finally, what's going to be the new world order between techno-capitalists, or because there is no ideology as such, it's all economy, it's all capitalism influence?
Yes, influence, but world order depends on geopolitics for the most part, on strategic interests.
No, the old order was based on at least some ideologies.
Ideologies come to augment the interests in geopolitical and strategic terms.
Okay, so in the new order, you don't think there will be any ideology?
No, there will be ideology, but it's not the overriding factor here. The overriding factor is the balance of power between the different great powers. So right now we have 2 great powers emerging. Russia is just a third weaker power, so it's not going to impact much. Russia's economy is about 1.7% of America. 1.7% of the total world economy.
Do you call it a middle power or?
No, it's much more than a middle power. It's a great power, but it's a great weak power. You cannot compare it to China and the United States. So it's within its region. But when we talk about United States and China today, in terms of its not purchasing power, but in terms of GDP, it's about 70%. In 1992, it was 7%. the United States was gambling that if it opens the world for the growth and development of China to become richer, that somehow that's going to impact its political system. That didn't happen. So we found authoritarian regimes also being able to manage their economy and grow and become rich. So the United States changed its policy and start dealing with China as a rival and competitor, and starting now to put the screws on it in order to slow that growth. It is not succeeding, but it's not also failing. So it's trying to contain China. So all these countries around China, which are also fearful of a rising China because that could impact their geopolitical situation. So that world order is still there, which is based on geopolitics, on strategic interests, as well as on the balance of power. If China becomes much more powerful militarily, which eventually it will, then that is going to impact the world order. Now we have two possibilities. One possibility is that we're going to have a completely two separate worlds, one dominated by the United States, because the United States is not, relatively is getting closer to China, but it's not getting weaker compared to other powers. So you're going to have two world orders, one led by China and one led by America. Or you're going to have some kind of an accommodation between these two, which America wouldn't like, but it might be forced to try to share that world with China. That would be something new for America, but that's one of the options. The third option is that you're going to have a real Cold War between the two until one of them is going to oust the other.
No, that, according to the old playbook, that used to be a non-aligned movement, which was always a Soviet camp,
yes,
by the way.
Yes, I mean, it was
so
always aiding the Soviet camp. Yes.
So you think there will be a middle block as well, three blocks?
I certainly hope so. I think but we don't see many signs, but we see possibilities, potential. I mean, Turkey at one point was calling for that the world is bigger than five, that you wanted to bring some middle powers come together. That might happen, actually. Europe is no longer in the game because Europe decided to basically give all its cards to the Americans, particularly what happened in Ukraine. The bigger loser in the Ukraine war was Europe. The United States, yes, lost a little bit, but it also gained a lot. So that balanced. But Europe is the biggest loser in this. Now, third world countries or developing countries or Islamic countries, they have the potential to actually, if they have their act together, if they become truly independent, if they become truly free, that they can change many of these
There is a big if.
blocks.
There is a big if.
Huge if, yes.
Mushahid sahab, Prof. Sami is saying कि old world order खत्म हो गया या है अभी भी, because उसको replace करने के लिए कोई नया order नहीं है. तो हम लोग कहाँ पे हैं इस वक्त? एक ऑर्डर गिर गया है, दूसरा ऑर्डर है नहीं सामने, तो ये कहाँ पे खड़े हैं?
एक तो क्लियर हो गया कि जो पुराना वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर था, जो लोगों ने कहा था कि पिछले 100 सालों में क्या हुआ है, पहले थी कि ये ब्रिटिश का कॉलोनियल पीरियड था, तो फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर से शुरू हुआ और सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर में खत्म हो गया. ठीक, कॉलोनाइजेशन का पीरियड, फ्रेंच एंड ब्रिटिश. सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद कहा जी द अमेरिकन सेंचुरी हैज बिगन. अब अमेरिकन सुपर पावर है. द अमेरिकन सेंचुरी एंडेड ऑन 15th August 2021 when they were evicted from Kabul in a humiliating manner. वो उस दिन अमेरिकन वो हुई जो अल्लामा इकबाल ने कहा था, जो मशरक से उभरते हुए सूरज को देख, द डॉन ऑफ द एशियन सेंचुरी. तो दैट इज स्पीयरहेडेड बाय चाइना. वो अब इमर्ज कर रहा है और अमेरिका ने कोल्ड वॉर की कोशिश की. ट्रंप को एक बड़ा रियलिस्टिक आदमी है. एक तो ट्रंप ने पूरा एक्सपोज कर दिया अमेरिकन सिस्टम में कितना करप्शन है, कितनी गड़बड़ है.
You're pro Trump.
है?
You're pro
I'm an admirer of Trump.
You aren't.
No, I admire Trump
No.
because दबंग आदमी. He has taken on the deep state of the most powerful country in the world and
You don't
defeated
support
them.
Trump.
And
If you have
defeated
a
them in the
choice,
elections.
if you have a choice between Trump and Kamala Harris,
I would never support Trump. I would never support Harris. I wrote an article about this.
okay.
I said basically that both are
No,
bad.
comparatively.
Comparatively, we could not support Harris because of the genocide. So this is on principle, Ken. And Trump, it's not about what he represents against Harris. He's also deeply Islamophobe. He's the one who actually turned Jerusalem and the Golan Heights to Israel. He brought into the so-called deal of the century. He's the worst president when it comes to Palestinian rights and Palestinian cause. He has caused tremendous damage to Muslims in America. And he does not actually, he's not a good person, and morally speaking, and on principle. He does not support any kind of human rights. He does not support He supports all the autocratic dictatorships around the world. You can't find a single thing.
Professor, you're sitting next to a very, very extremely pro-Trump person.
Well, I think on one hand, this is what I would agree with him, that he may hasten the collapse of the American empire. That's the only virtue that he may have, in my view, because this is very important for the world. And he does it not because he believes that America should decline. It's because he is a transactional president. He does not understand the imperatives of how American empire works. And he is so self-centered and does not care about, he only cares about his interest, his personal interest. And he's becoming a leader of a cult. I think that's why the establishment is horrified with him. Somebody like my friend here, Mushahid here, he understands the dangers of American empire. Therefore, he hopes that Trump will be able to hasten the collapse of that American empire because of how it has damaged the whole world. And with that, I agree with him. But whether Trump can act is a good person or a moral person or someone who can actually do this for good moral reasons, absolutely not. This guy has proven over and over again that's not what it's about.
ट्रम्प ने ये है कि वो बाकी प्रेसिडेंट की तरह मुनाफिक नहीं, बाकी दे टॉक्ड ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स, हर एक ने कू डिटास भी किए हैं, असैसिनेशंस भी किए हैं. इसने बात की कि दिस इज अ वेरी करप्ट सिस्टम, दिस इज अ वेरी करप्ट एस्टेब्लिशमेंट, दिस इज डबल फेस सिस्टम. ये किसी अमेरिकन प्रेसिडेंट की जरूरत नहीं हुई थी टू से टू द CIA एंड द पेंटागन कि आप लोग नालायक हैं, अमेरिकन जनरल्स आर इनकॉम्पिटेंट, द CIA हैज कमिटेड क्राइम्स. ये किसी की जरूरत नहीं हुई थी. I think we must hand it to them. क्योंकि अमेरिका जैसे सिस्टम में they go by the playbook, Washington playbook. President or no president, वो पुतिन ने ठीक कहा.
4 former CIA directors. I mean, they are on the list. Leon Panetta and Mike Pompeo and blah blah. No. Coming, आपने वो एक्सीडेंट देखा है जो क्रैश हुआ है?
हाँ, बड़ा अजीब सा हुआ है कि वो हाई सिक्योरिटी जोन में जहाँ व्हाइट हाउस भी है, वहाँ पेंटागन भी है, और ट्रम्प के आने के एक हफ्ते के बाद इतना इंपॉर्टेंट क्रैश होता है
जो कभी नहीं हुआ,
और वो भी इसमें वन इन्वॉल्विंग द पेंटागन VIP हेलीकॉप्टर डिटेल. तो ये जरा थोड़ा सा वो कंस्पिरेसी थियरिस्ट तो और कहेंगे कि जी वो तो मैसेज था ट्रम्प के लिए, लेकिन
ट्रम्प खुद भी कह रहा है कि वो हेलीकॉप्टर ऊपर नीचे क्यों नहीं हुआ, जो कि एक्चुअली
आई एम नॉट अ कंस्पिरेसी थियरिस्ट.
लेकिन अजीब सा. अच्छा, मुझे ये बताएं प्रोफेसर, हाउ यू लुक एट पाकिस्तान?
Pakistan is a very important Muslim country. Pakistan has the potential to actually, along with Turkey and possibly Malaysia and Indonesia, to lead a new alliance between the Muslim countries and possibly even build a third power. But Pakistan has been very much consumed with its own internal affairs and hasn't been able to live up to its potential. And that's very, very regrettable. I am very optimistic that the youth, through this visit that it's been now almost a week, that I see there is a great potential among the youth in Pakistan, and that they really care about the status of their country. They're trying to break free from this logjam that you have internally here and start to chart a new future. And I certainly hope that the political class in this country would be able to live up to that potential.
मैं देख रहा हूँ next 10 years में 5 Muslim middle powers.
अच्छा.
Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, Indonesia. They will be playing key roles in their respective areas. So Pakistan is a very key player in the most crucial part of the world. तो हमारे पास वो strategic space है, और हमें we should set our own house in order and seize this new opportunity.
लेकिन उन्होंने mention किया कि internal जो
हाँ वो तो है, वो मतलब है कि सारा, इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि हम we need a healing. Yes, मेरे ख्याल में वो अब दोनों जो है ना, जो state power और street power का तसादम हमने देख लिया.
नहीं, अब तो होने जा रहा है, अभी तो और झगड़ा
मेरे ख्याल में सेटल डाउन हो जाएगा क्योंकि एक दूसरे पर वो नहीं खत्म कर सके. स्टेट पावर स्ट्रीट पावर को नहीं दबा कर सका, और स्ट्रीट पावर स्टेट पावर को नहीं कर सका. तो इसलिए मेरा ख्याल एक रियलिटी
और बड़ा जरूरी है,
एक हीलिंग टच की जरूरत है, दस्ते शफा की जरूरत है, और उसमें सबको कहें जितने सियासी कैदी हैं बशमूल इमरान खान रिहा किया जाए और उनको आगे बढ़े, ताकि पाकिस्तान का जो असली पोटेंशियल है हम रियलाइज करें हम कितने क्रूशल एरिया में हैं. वरना छोटी मोटी ये इश्यूज आते रहेंगे, कभी बलोचिस्तान, कभी खैबर पख्तूनख्वा, तो ये नेवर एंडिंग हो जाएगी. फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट, फिर मीडिया, फिर पीका को फलाना, ये तो फिर ये बुश फायर्स जो हैं ये आपको कंज्यूम कर देंगे और रिजल्ट होगा जीरो इन्वेस्टमेंट. तो वी शुड लर्न दोस लेसन्स.
नहीं, मुझे आप ये बताएं कि आप 3 ब्लॉक देख रहे हैं, ये आप दो ब्लॉक्स देख रहे हैं।
मेरा व्यू डिफरेंट है, ब्लॉक्स की बात नहीं है।
नहीं,
मैं कह रहा हूं
चाइना
अमेरिका एंड चाइना अंडर ट्रम्प
एंड देन देयर इज अ नॉन अलाइंस।
नहीं, देयर विल बी एन एंगेजमेंट।
कैसे?
न्यू कोल्ड वॉर नहीं होगी अंडर ट्रम्प।
मिडिल पावर्स है ना,
ट्रम्प ट्रांजैक्शनल प्रेसिडेंट है, वो चाइना के साथ एंगेज करेगा, पहले बुली ब्राउबीट करेगा, वो फेल होगा। कोल्ड वॉर अमेरिका कैन नॉट विन अगेंस्ट चाइना, और चाइना ऑल्सो डज नॉट वांट अ कोल्ड वॉर। तो वो एंगेजमेंट होगी जो फ्रेंडली कंपटीशन है, लेकिन उसमें दोनों का कुछ लो कुछ दो की बुनियाद पर मेरे ख्याल में कोई अकोमोडेशन हो जाएगी।
Don't you think, Professor, what Trump is saying and sending the message to the world is either you are with us or against us?
That's exactly his message.
So how can a country
No, it's not that simple.
balance
He is
I think it's not that
basically
simplistic.
he
can
is
balance
basi-
between two?
no, he's basically saying that America is first,
America's
and therefore, if you want
Accept
to
my terms.
if you want to prosper, you need to listen to my dictates.
yeah.
If you don't, you'll be sanctions and you will be ostracized. And basically, that's what he's doing to Iran. That's what he wants to do to any country that does not agree with him, whether it's in Latin America or other places, which is pretty hard for a great power to use, because what it does is that this kind of alienation would turn these countries into the arms of China or other great powers. So it's certainly not a traditional American policy. It has turned to this since it's becoming unipolar, because it was not fearing any kind of competition. Now, in the age of China, of the rivalry with China, this is going to be a very dangerous policy, because this is what it did to Russia. Russia historically also had its problems with China. Once it took the position with the Ukraine war, in all the things that they did against Russia, Russia was turned, and now it becomes a full partner with China. That is against the United States' interest, as some of the establishment sees it. And I think, going back to the point that the Mushahid was making, it's very important to realize that we really have that potential. We talk about Pakistan, Iran, Turkey, Indonesia, these major countries in the Muslim world. If they can become truly independent and value that the future is much more important than just short-term interests, we can actually, through 1 or 2 generations, make a huge problem and impact the future of the world order. If we know how to exploit the situation, we have that potential. We can complement each other. Each country has a positive, has something to contribute, but we have to be above our narrow national interest. We have to think of the interest of the whole ummah. And that is something that is missing in the political dialogue, in the political class. Everybody just thinks of Pakistan only, Turkey only, Saudi Arabia only, Nigeria only, and so on and so forth. If we go back to the model that Najmuddin Erbakan was trying to promote when he was Prime Minister of Turkey, it's a model that can actually, if taken seriously, make a huge impact on the future world order.
Mushahid sahab, final thoughts. कोई नया ऑर्डर भी नहीं है सामने।
नहीं, नए ऑर्डर की बुनियाद रखती गई है।
बुनियाद रखती गई।
चाइना ने नया, देखें ये बेल्ट एंड रोड इनिशिएटिव, 150 ममालिक, $2 ट्रिलियन इन्वेस्टमेंट 3000 प्रोजेक्ट्स में, एशियन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक, न्यू डेवलपमेंट बैंक, ब्रिक्स, शंघाई कोऑपरेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, रीजनलिज्म, ट्रेड कनेक्टिविटी, तो ये आगाज तो कर दिए। अमेरिकन मिलिट्री ऑर्डर जो है, इट्स स्टिल ओल्ड फैशन, सिक्योरिटी सेंट्रिक, मिलिट्री डोमिनेटेड। चाइना का इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट, ट्रेड, कनेक्टिविटी, 2 डिफरेंट विजन्स हैं। चाइना के पास वो पैसा है जो अमेरिका के पास नहीं है, और चाइना के पास वो टेक्नोलॉजिकल स्किल्स भी हैं।
ओल्ड ऑर्डर इज स्टिल देयर।
ओल्ड ऑर्डर इज डिक्लाइनिंग, और ट्रम्प को मालूम है कि ही इज प्रिजाइडिंग ओवर अ डिक्लाइनिंग अमेरिका। अमेरिका जो जवाल हो चुका है।
इज चाइना रेडी?
चाइना इज रेडी,
बिल्कुल उसकी पोजीशन ले।
बिल्कुल पोजीशन मैं नहीं कहता कि चाइना का वो नहीं करता ग्रैब। चाइना एक मुल्क नहीं, सिविलाइजेशन है, बड़े आहिस्ता आहिस्ता फूक फूक के कदम लेते हैं। वो खुद कहते हैं कि रास्ता हमवार हो रहा है हमारे लिए, जो बाकी यूरोप का कहाँ था, यूरोप का डिक्लाइन हो गया, इट्स अ नॉन फैक्टर इन वर्ल्ड पॉलिटिक्स। अमेरिका जो था इतना डोमिनेट करता था। आप भी एग्जांपल ले लें पैलेस्टाइन का, मिडल ईस्ट का, छोटा सा है हमास या रेजिस्टेंस, उन्होंने उड़ा के रख दिया। इतनी फायर पावर, इतनी लाइव जेनोसाइड, दे कुड नॉट डिफीट हमास। तो इसका मतलब है माइट इज राइट वाला प्रिंसिपल फेल हो गया, राइट इज माइट। तो इट्स अ लेसन फॉर अस इन कश्मीर आल्सो कि ये साइज डज नॉट इक्वल स्ट्रेंथ।
Professor, the final question. In the beginning, you said that you don't believe on the two-state solution. You don't think there is going to be two states, either a Palestinian state or Israel.
No, I mean there is a Israeli state.
If I ask you to bet on a greater Israel or a total Palestinian state?
There would not be.
Another
Israel
another fighting and
Greater
war,
Israel is dead
because
now.
it's a very fragile ceasefire.
Well, what we're having today, we do not have a Palestinian state, and I don't think we'll ever have a Palestinian state. You may have a truncated semi-state, but I don't think that's even in the cards. I think what we're having today is an apartheid regime in mandated Palestine, in the whole Palestine from the river to the sea. That project, that enterprise, that Zionist project is in its decline. Eventually it will be dismantled. Until we reach that point, there will not be a Palestinian state. We're going to be some sort of a conflict. That conflict will become global conflict. I think in the course of the Palestinian struggle, we've gone through 5 stages. This 5th stage that we'll enter is the stage which will make this conflict global. Palestine now has become the key, the compass, the symbol of the struggle of world class, of the world poor people, of the world oppressed people against the hegemony of the West, the hegemony of the imperialists, the hegemony of the Zionists. That global struggle is going to, at the end, dismantle this whole regime. What comes after it is going to be basically a system. It could be called Palestine, it could be called anything else, but the people who believe in the Zionist project will no longer be in Palestine. Those people cannot understand that they can live in a society where people are equal. This is a supremacist mind, a racist mind, a settler colonial mind. Like the French, at the end, when they defeated in Algeria, they went back to France. Every settler colonial movement, when it is defeated, goes back to where it came from. That's what's going to happen. That doesn't mean you're killing every Jew. We're saying that this problem came from Europe. Europe was racist against its Jews. It wanted to solve 2 problems with one. It took its excess Jews, put them in Palestine in order to solve the Jewish question. And with that, it wanted also to solve the Eastern question, which is whenever the people in this part of the world, the Muslims in this part of the world, they were defeated by the Europeans, by the Crusaders, they can again regain their strength and push them back. They wanted to put this foreign entity so that they will always be weak, exhausted, fragmented, divided. Now, once that project is ended, once that project collapses, then we can tell them if the Jews cannot be accepted in Europe because they're racist, they can live in a part of the Muslim world like they did after Islamic Spain in 1492. They can go between Morocco and Indonesia, but not as a sovereign state, not as a colonial state in the heart of the Muslim world at the expense of Palestinian rights. That will not happen. I think over time, if anything we learned from October 7th, that with the resistance being steadfast and resilient, that this project cannot sustain itself. It will have to go. It is an apartheid genocidal regime. This fact people did not understand, did not see it. But now, after 15 months of genocide, thousands of killed people, of this 2 million of displaced people, and so on and so forth, we can see that this ideology cannot be sustained and cannot exist.
मुशाहिद भाई, आखिर में हम पहले जब आपके साथ बात हुई थी, तो ये हमने कहा था कि मेरा तो कम से कम यही कि जो भी नई जियो पॉलिटिक्स जन्म लेगी उसमें गजा से ओरिजिनेट करेगी, ये जो चल रहा है सारा मामला, और वही होता देख रहे हैं हम। जो नए
मैं समझता हूँ जो तनाज़े चल रहे हैं जो तारीख के हवाले से, उसमें दोनों को मैं शामिल करूँगा, क्योंकि 2 खिते बड़े अहम हैं ग्लोबल साउथ के, मिडल ईस्ट और साउथ एशिया। मिडल ईस्ट में पैलेस्टाइन, जनूबी एशिया में कश्मीर, और जब तक ये मसले हल नहीं होंगे, अमन और सलामती हमारी ज़िंदगी में तो कायम नहीं होगा। और ये जो फीलिंग थी ना कि जी पैलेस्टाइन इशू डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट, कश्मीर इशू शुड बी बरिड, चलें जी कॉम्प्रोमाइज करें, दैट डज नॉट वर्क। कुछ पीपल रेजिस्ट करते हैं ना, इट्स नॉट अबाउट टू द अरब रेजिम्स टू डिसाइड, इट्स द पीपल ऑफ पैलेस्टाइन। इट्स नॉट फॉर पाकिस्तान टू से कि हम कश्मीर का सौदा कर लें इंडिया से खुफिया तौर पर। कश्मीरी अवाम नहीं मानेंगे, दे आर द मेन पार्टी टू इट। और वैसे भी जो गलत काम करेंगे जिसकी बुनियाद नाइंसाफ़ी हो, जैसे हज़रत अली ने फरमाया था ना, कुफर की हुकूमत तो चल सकती है, नाइंसाफ़ी और जुल्म की बुनियाद पर हुकूमत नहीं चल सकती।
प्रोफेसर सामी, thanks a lot for being in the show, and welcome to Pakistan.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed.
Very much so.
You met a lot of people over here.
Yes, it was really a pleasure to be here.
Look forward to see you in Istanbul.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. मुशाहिद साहब,
Thank you,
बहुत शुक्रिया, और इस यकीन और इस उम्मीद के साथ कि नेक्स्ट टाइम जब भी आप से मुलाकात होगी तो
we'll have Turkish food in Istanbul.
बहुत शुक्रिया, थैंक यू। ख़वातीन हज़रात, प्रोफेसर सामी की आपने बात सुनी, सामी आरियां की, जो कि एक बड़ा नाम है, इस्तांबुल में मौजूद हैं, पढ़ाते हैं, पढ़ते हैं ख़ुद भी, और मुशाहिद हुसैन सैयद साहब। अपना दोस्तों रिश्तेदारों गिरदोनवाह के लोगों का सब ख्याल रखिएगा। अल्लाह हाफ़िज़।